Kia ora, I'm Erin J. Doyle. Welcome to my channel and day 27 of NaNoWriMo. It's been a few days since my last daily vlog. Why? Because life is shit. Some stuff's going on at the moment that I have no actual control over, but affects me a lot, and that's causing me a lot of stress. And the solutions are not easy or pleasant. However, this problem will take months to resolve at best, so I figure I kind of have to just pretend I'm not so stressed I may vomit and just try and get on with the other things in my life, which are all excellent. Like this one thing that is like horrific is super bad, but it's like one bad thing, so I'm like, just try and do the good things. What I'm waving around is some plastic packaging I mysteriously didn't put down before filming. A few days ago I was trying to find ways of getting my characters to interact with their environment a little bit more in one of the opening chapters where my character is still in New Zealand, and I was actually really enjoying writing it, and I was kind of getting into the flow of it and just kind of letting things happen, and I started writing something and I was like, hang on a second, there are implications to this, and I had to stop and give it some thought. So what I was going to do was have a fantail fly into the house. I had my characters just hanging out together, and I thought it would be a good way of basically giving them something to notice or draw their attention to different parts of the room, because the fantail could fly there, and then like if the fantail like perches on a picture frame, then I can describe the picture easily without just randomly describing a picture kind of thing. Now in the household that I grew up in, if a waka waka flew into the house, it was just a friendly visitor there to eat any insects that might also be around, and they will fly around, you know, catch any flies that might be about, they'll clean out any cobwebs, and eventually they'll let themselves out again, usually after shitting on the bookcase. But for many others, they are a terrifying omen. I have seen one in somebody's office once. Don't even know how it got there, because it was not an office with a big open to the outside door, but it managed to get in there, and I managed to get the bird out the window, but this involved messing around with the blinds quite a bit, and I was having a lot of problems with them, and I eventually went and found the person whose office it was, and I said to her, look, I've had to mess around with your blinds, really sorry about that. And when I told her it was because this bird had been in her office, she freaked out. Like, it was like I had pulled a gun on her. Like, she really freaked out. And this was a person who wasn't even born and raised in New Zealand. So for some people it's a very, very real omen. For other people it's just a friendly visitor. And I was concerned that if I put a fantail in a house in the beginning of my book, then that would tell all New Zealanders reading it that someone was going to die. Now, the reason I had put it in there was because, yay, friendly visitor, and I was like, ah. So I decided to turn to Facebook. I just asked the question on my private feed because, oddly enough, most of the people in my friend group are New Zealanders. So I posted the question, if a fantail flies into a house in the first chapter, do you expect a character to die? And I got 12 responses. Someone said, if it is referred to as a waka waka and there are other ominous hints. So yeah, like that's sort of an interesting one. Like, if it's referred to as a fantail, they wouldn't consider it to be the omen, whereas if it was referred to the waka waka because that's the Māori name and it's a Māori story, then that kind of combines those ideas together, whereas if it's referred to as a fantail, I guess to her that would separate the bird from the legend. I had someone say, I wouldn't expect it, but depending on the tone of the book, I definitely think of it as a potential foreshadowing. Particularly if the character seeing the fantail in the house feels some sense of dread or worry about it. The idea that I'm getting from actually both of those comments is that it's less about the omen of the bird so much as the person's reaction to it. One person said, not necessarily. It doesn't always mean death. It can also mean something is coming to an end or a new beginning is coming. It represents much more than death. I have never heard that, ever. But okay. One person definitely said, yep, I would think someone was going to die. One person, not a New Zealander, but has lived here for several years, said, I wouldn't, but I don't think I understand the cultural context, which is fair enough. I think that would be true for anyone who's not a Kiwi. Some person asked if the bird is carrying a knife. Very helpful. Someone said it can also be a visit for a loved one or someone who has passed. It's not always a bad thing. Again, I have never heard that. So I don't know if that's that person's personal interpretation or if that's maybe their iwi's interpretation. Like it might be that the specifics of the sign might vary between regions, maybe. And then the final one, I always just thought it meant there was a bird in the house, which is kind of what I grew up with. So that's how I originally started writing it, was just, oh yes, maybe a bird flies into the house, and I was like, oh no, maybe I have to rethink that. So I thought that was really interesting to get those comments. They were really varied, you know, like I had quite a few people saying yes and quite a few saying no, but I think the message there seemed to be that people would take it as an omen if there were other things. Alone it wouldn't be. So that's kind of helpful. I still don't know if I'll actually keep that scene, just, or that element of the scene, just because now I don't know. Like, I don't want to foreshadow something that I don't want to foreshadow, or am not foreshadowing, I should say. Yeah, so there was that. It's now just after 2 and I have been to the supermarket to get the inevitable 3 or 4 things that I forgot to buy yesterday, including toilet paper and, I don't know why I'm sharing this, paper packaging. I didn't know there was a brand that has paper packaging, but apparently we're having supply chain issues at the moment and my usual brand was not available and I had to look at other bits and I was like, hang on a second, that's paper! So yes, I may have just found my new brand. Unfortunately that is legitimately exciting. I am that old. Something which I've been thinking about for a few days but got particularly muttery to myself about on the walk to the supermarket. The joys of wearing a mask. You can talk to yourself and people don't know unless they're really close. I was thinking about some of the changes that I've got on my list of things to pop into my story, and one of them is something that I decided to add in maybe a week ago, and it's something that I really like. It adds a huge drama moment, it has a big emotional effect as well as like a practical consequence. It further develops a relationship, like it's got all of the stuff that you want. But I've kind of realised that maybe there's a little bit of a confusingness about it because it happens essentially because my character didn't plan in advance for it to happen. Like, it's not my character's fault, but she hasn't taken any steps to prevent it in any way, which conflicts with one of the other things I was planning to add, where we find out that my character has been thinking about a thing, like, you know, she's living plan A but she's got this plan B, and we don't know that plan B really exists until she implements it, but it's actually been there for a while. And the thing is, if she's prepared for plan B with this thing that she does, then it would be weird that she wouldn't have also thought about and prepared for the thing that happens later. So that suggests to me that she can't have prepared a plan B. Tricky. It's also very hard to discuss this without the spoilers of doom. But yeah, that's something I've been thinking about, is I don't think I can have both of the things. She can be prepared or she can be unprepared. I don't see a happy medium where I get to have both. Because of the high value of the unprepared option, I think that's what I'm going to have to go with. But I don't know if that's going to have other consequences in terms of things like pacing. I don't know. There's also a potential conflict with some dialogue, because something the character later says relating to stuff. She says because of the actions she took when she implemented plan B. But now if plan B isn't a thing and it isn't implemented, then those actions don't take place, and therefore the comment that she makes in regards to the thing would be a bit odd and surprising. So I guess she has to not say it, or I need to build in some other factor that would make her feel the way that she does when she says the thing. It's all very complicated, very face-touchy complicated. What is in here? Ooh, I forgot I bought myself candy! Wrapped in plastic, having just been happy that I bought not plastic wrapped toilet paper. Ah, the hypocrisy. I am up to page 250, so quite some way into the book, just quietly chipping away on all these little comments and things that I wanted to revisit, feeling really good about it that I've hit this scene. I had a note about it in my story tracking spreadsheet saying that I need to come back to it, and I saw that note and I was like, I don't even know what scene that is, and I've gone to it in the document and I'm like, it might be easier to just delete it, because what the fuck? The whole thing is in red, so like I've written it in very much note form and then made it red so that I could see, even if I was like just scrolling through the document, that this was something that needed to be revisited. And it is so bad. What I've said. Sun, the main character's name is Sun. Sun bumped into a group of familiar pilgrims as she was leaving the pilgrim's supply store, her feet encased in mismatched cotton socks and a new pair of walking sandals. "Nice socks," one of the pilgrims said. "Thanks," Sun said. "I've never had time for matching socks." "Right? Who has time to worry about that?" He put an arm around her shoulder, hugging her to his side. "You'll join us for dinner, yeah?" "Sure." Sun glanced at the blue sky. "Bit early, isn't it?" "We're going to take a tour on the train first," his girlfriend said. "Would you like to join us?" "Of course she would," insert name here declared. "Well, there's your answer," Sun laughed. "You look peaceful," insert name here said, eyeing Sun. "Do I?" she asked, laughing. "That sounds about right." Random gap. The pair led the way to a plaza beyond the limits of the medieval marketplace, where a car shaped like a steam train was hooked up to a short string of open-sided carriages. "There's a lunar eclipse tonight, but not until 1 o'clock, insert name here," shook her head. "Unless I see it from the albergue, I'm going to miss it." Sun made a sympathetic noise and didn't mention that she had a private balcony. That is 100% of it. Like, who are these people? Where are they when this conversation takes place? I am certain that I created this scene much later in the process to try and wedge in the fact that you can take little guided tours around a city in like a car, but it's shaped like a train with little carriages. And obviously I was trying to introduce the information about the lunar eclipse and the fact that my main character had just bought a pair of walking sandals. I don't think I really needed a whole scene to describe this. I think I put it in because it seemed easier than trying to wedge it into my pre-existing scenes, but I think that was a mistake. So this has to go, and I'm going to have to put the information about the lunar eclipse and the sandals in somewhere else, and I think the train can just go because it's really doing nothing. Perhaps I should drink. It's now 6:30 and I'm still working on that horrific scene. It's not going to stay a scene. I'm just gonna, I don't know, disseminate the knowledge from it into other bits and get rid of it because it's awful. Obviously this is going to be a little bit of work because I need to figure out where I'm going to put the couple of important bits of information earlier in the chapter. That's going to require some effort, and in the meantime I do need to make dinner, so that's going to be it for this vlog. Hopefully there's actually a vlog because I don't know how much of what I've said was useful. I guess editing me will take care of that. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like. If you're new around here, maybe consider hitting subscribe and ringing that bell so you can stay up to date, and I'll see you next time, whenever that happens to be.